percussion instruments with ice instruments, which are also going to be used in a percussive form. We're going to hit them with mallets, hammers, all those types of things. Today is all improv, so we're all just kind of working with ideas that we just kind of think of as we go, and we kind of play off each other, and it's fun to collaborate, but also have a sense of independence.
When I visit Cooperstown, because there's stories in baseball.
But you'd be comfortable with them getting in.
But I said earlier, if there were a performance-enhancing drug era wing of baseball, and then there would be maybe a bust in there of Barry Bonds and whatever else. Here's why the argument's tough. That's why I said. So I said I would expect, if I went to Cooperstown and I had a son or daughter, and well, I have two daughters, been going, oh, who's that? That's Barry Bonds. He's hit the most home runs than anybody in the world. Why is he in this wing? Well, because he played during the case where there were performance-enhancing drugs, so there's some suspicion about it. But you can take 200 home runs off Barry Bonds, Joel. He's still got 500. So, and it's not like the pitchers that era probably also some of them were using, Joel. So that's the debate. That's the argument. I just put it that way. If I had to Cooperstown, I would expect to see Barry Bonds somewhere, whether it be voting or in some wing that says he played in this era. His story in the annals of baseball has to fit somewhere. It has to fit somewhere, doesn't it?
Well, the answer is yes. I think you just told the story very well. Yeah. I look at it this way. Baseball it needs to look at itself and say, look, we didn't have a rule that they couldn't. Okay, so they have to look at themselves as part of the problem, right? Yep. The reason that we don't like them is because they broke records using an advantage. That's why we don't like them.
Yeah. Right. They cheated. They were perceived to have cheated by fans.
We don't like the fact that Barry Bonds is the all-time home run king because he was on performing-enhancing drugs, even though we didn't make that illegal. Now, I'll add one other thing.
Yep.
To not allow Pete Rose while he was playing into the Hall of Fame, when he got caught gambling when he was a manager, which those are two completely different
and
eras.
Betting on his own team.
The guy is one of the greatest baseball players ever and should be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, it's just it's a juggernaut of it because I get it. Shoeless Joe and Pete gambling immediately, boom, takes the integrity right out of sport. Right when you're playing, it takes it right out of sport. Putting a needle in your arm that enhances your ability to recover from injury or build, muscle fiber and all that kind of stuff, certainly it would challenge the integrity of a sport. My only angle is that they are part of baseball's lore. And when you put the numbers up that they do and have, there's got to be a wing somewhere in there. And I don't care how you want to label it. Stick a PED wing or whatever, but those are pretty large numbers.
Right. The biggest problem that baseball has, it's the game itself, is that they've made themselves to be a game of numbers. Yeah, right? Everything's a stat.
Right.
Everything's
500 home runs, 3,000 strikeouts, 500 wins. These are all these supposedly benchmark numbers.
A lot of these guys that get into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, I don't know their stats as much as I know they were one of the best players ever to play the game.
Big Papi put up numbers, Joel, but he also was charismatic. Obviously, they had some championships. He really was the backbone of a city during a time where they needed someone popular to speak out against aggressive acts. And so I get the Big Papi story. Like you, wasn't sure if it was going to be first ballot or not. He got 77.9% of the ballots. You need 75. So, he made it.
Would you mind coming in here and gracing Abby and I with your presence?
I shall do that.
We would like that.
I had a Pop-Tart already.
Pop in.
Yeah, I'll pop in.
So today on MSUM campus, we're doing an ice jam, which is we're combining a bunch of percussion instruments with ice instruments, which are also going to be used in a percussive form. We're going to hit them with mallets, hammers, all those types of things. today is all improv, so we're all just kind of working with ideas that we just kind of think of as we go, and we kind of play off each other, and it's fun to collaborate, but also have a sense of independence.
Here with another News Radio.
Hey, this is Abby Miller with the
Derek Hansen, Couch Potato Radio. Did you see that
from It Takes Two?
Doug Miller with the morning crew this morning.
News Radio.
Amy Eiler with It Takes Two.
This is Jack Michael, Voices Forces.
Too tall.
Joel Heitkamp here on the Mighty
Sarah Heinrich.
Tyler Access, your home.
The Mighty 790 and 104.7 FM KFGO. The names you know, the voices you trust.
Well, we're doing a food giveaway event to the community. A lot of people are facing food insecurity at this time. As we can tell, we had to start about an hour early because we just had so many people lined up. So as people come up and they need whatever they need, volunteers are taking care of it. It's all contactless, so nobody has to get out. And just making sure whatever the greatest need. We're just giving the greatest good. When we're going until the food is out. As people are coming in, if they need 2 boxes and 2 gallons of milk, that's what we're giving. We don't want to leave anybody out.
I was in the hospital, and I saw a flyer on the wall. And all the nurses were talking about taking people down there to get food and stuff. I got out last night. Got out of the hospital last night, and I said, man, I'm going to do this. When I came from Williston here, I lived on these streets for 3 years, caring. And that's what this is. That's the way I see it. Very helpful.
You know that, Abby? He's sitting right to my right.
What?
Is he on TV? Is he on YouTube?
Yes.
Am I on YouTube?
Yeah.
You're on
So,
YouTube.
I also
Wearing black, very
were
slimming color.
We were kind of joking. Yes, we were joking that you were wearing brown. My mother Marge would be like, "Is that brown?
It's kind of a
Purplish
brownish,
brown,
pinkish,
like someone bled over something purple."
like a throw up color, kind of.
Right, like a vomit brown.
Yeah.
My mother loves that.
Notice how I
color.
stayed out of that?
My mother would love
really
what Joel's
dis-
wearing today. She would just.
I got
the
mine.
cream
I
with
put it
brown.
on, then I remembered I got it
Yes.
at Ties. This was from Devil's Lake.
That's Joel's favorite sweater, and
I
he
love
once
it.
spilled.
We are
Ties
all over
Lodge.
it.
I know
Ties
you got
Lodge.
Barry and Brian. You got the whole blood show thing going on, but we were joking that Abby's going to get married when she goes to Mexico next week. Maybe find her husband.
My brother's getting married.
Your brother's getting married. We thought maybe you might stumble
But you might
in.
find that.
You
Yeah.
might stumble into
Maybe.
love. So I sent her a picture last night. I
I
said,
am
Abby,
quick to fall.
what are the chances you marry in Mexico one of these 4 men? And I sent her a picture of Ricky Martin, Tommy Chong, Cheech Marion, and Juan Valdez.
Which one
You'd
did-
have all
which
the
one did
coffee
you
you
like?
could drink. Oh, she doesn't do coffee, though.
Which one did
Yeah.
you like the most?
I'd have to look at them again. None of them really jumped out.
Really?
Are they?
Isn't Tommy Chong dead?
He might be.
Yeah,
There's Juan
I don't know
Valdez.
that
Look at how
he'll-
honest he looks.
I mean,
And he's
yeah.
probably more
How
Colombian than he is
honest.
Yeah,
Mexican.
he's not Mexican.
There's Tommy and Cheech.
Yeah. They were here.
And
I've got a picture of
and
me
there's-
with them.
There's Ricky, who Abby chose.
You'd take Ricky. You
That's
don't-
the only name
you
that I'm
wouldn't-
familiar with.
You wouldn't care about the toupee. You can get past that.
You got a
That's
toupee?
fine.
That's my theory.
He's kind of like he's got like a poor man's Josh Duhamel casual look going on.
You know what we
right
should
there.
do?
I
We
would
should
be happy with
get
Josh Duhamel.
Abby a
Not
jet
I,
ski.
baby.
Ooh, you
Should we get her a jet ski?
Yeah, can you? I love jet
Well,
skis.
stick around. We're going to talk about it because the boat show's coming up.
Oh,
right?
better climb aboard.
Thanks for watching News and Views on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and like our page. And send us a text anytime at 35270.
Robertson here with another News Radio.
Hey, this is Abby Miller with the
Derek
Mighty
Hansen, Couch
790.
Potato Radio. Did you see that?
from It Takes Two.
Doug Miller with the morning crew this morning.
News
Amy
Radio.
Eiler with It Takes Two.
This is Jack Michael, Voices Forces.
Too tall.
Joel Heitkamp here on the Mighty
Sarah Heinrich.
Tyler Access, your home.
The Mighty 790 and 104.7 FM KFGO. The names you know, the voices you trust.
So today on MSUM campus, we're doing an ice jam, which is we're combining a bunch of percussion instruments with ice instruments, which are also going to be used in a percussive form. We're going to hit them with mallets, hammers, all those types of things. Today is all improv, so we're all just kind of working with ideas that we just kind of think of as we go, and we kind of play off each other, and it's fun to collaborate but also have a sense of independence.
Well, we're doing a food giveaway event to the community. A lot of people are facing food insecurity at this time. As we can tell, we had to start about an hour early because we just had so many people lined up. So as people come up and they need whatever they need, volunteers are taking care of it. It's all contactless, so nobody has to get out. And just making sure whatever the greatest need. We're just getting the greatest good. When we're going until the food is out. As people are coming in, if they need 2 boxes and 2 gallons of milk, that's what we're giving. We don't want to leave anybody out.
I was in the hospital, and I saw a flyer on the wall. And all the nurses were talking about taking people down there to get food and stuff. I got out last night. Got out of the hospital last night, and I said, man, I'm going to do this. When I came from Williston here, I lived on these streets for 3 years, caring. And that's what this is. That's the way I see it. Very helpful. I think it's going to be very helpful because I know people that are doing without.
I think it's truly remarkable how much need there is out there. Like I said, we were going to start at noon, but we had so many people lined up. We started at 11, and volunteers have been working their tail off since then. I'm thankful for that. I think this shows that there is some huge needs in the community, and we got some things we got to address.
is with us. We've got some buddies here. We got Barry Snako, who I get to visit with every time the boat show's going on.
Yeah.
And where is it?
It's at the Fargo Dome.
And how
starting
much
on
is it to get in?
Friday.
Next to nothing?
It's ridiculously low priced at $10.
And I tell you this
But
every year.
it's a $1 off discount coupon at FargoBoatShow.com.
Look at that.
You know what? Every time I go, I buy something. I love it there. I got a cousin I was talking to this morning, and he was like all over it. I'm going to the boat show. You know, I mean, it is so much fun.
And it's nice because, you know, we've given you free tickets in the past, and that free ticket costs you how much?
Free.
But how much was that pontoon?
Oh, yeah. Welcome to my life.
I
Just
love
get
giving
him in
out
the
a free
door,
ticket
Barry.
if somebody
Just get-
buys a $40,000
Get
pontoon.
Joel in the door.
40?
That's all it is.
Exactly.
40 was like a down payment on some of them.
Wow.
You know, I mean,
Well.
but you know what? It's worth it.
It is.
I mean, I don't know anything that I own where you can collectively put 12, 13 people in it together.
Yep.
Outdoors, and they just have that much fun.
Yeah, just put them on a pontoon, add a cooler, little
Yep.
sunshine. You're having a great day.
Stop, the kids jump off. You know, it's just a blast.
It's amazing when you if you've been to this before, the Fargo Dome, and I don't know if Brian Shin's the one that directs the traffic to get all that stuff in there, but it is
No, not even
it is-
close.
What?
Not even. We don't even let them in the building.
It's genius how these all. I mean, I would be knocking stuff over
You
left
said
and
Brian
right.
was wearing a Speedo and walking around in the summer rec
with
area.
a beer.
Oh, yikes. Thanks. I got that in my head now.
So, okay, let's get before we get to the fun part, let's get the mechanics out of the way. The boat show is when, and it runs how long?
Yeah, it starts this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. As we speak, we're bringing boats and pontoons, personal watercraft right into the dome. It's just $10 at the door for adults, $1 off discount coupon at FargoBoatShow.com. And we have electronic seminars going all weekend, how to use a GPS, how to catch more fish with them. But again, it's all about boats, docks, personal watercraft, marine accessories, electronics. And this is a year like last year. You know, when I was here last year, what did I say? You know, get down to the show, get this purchase going because things are tight. And it's no different this year. So if you want a new boat this summer, please don't wait until April.
Yep.
Get down to the Dome this
good
weekend,
advice.
make that deal, and get in the system.
That's right. That's really good advice. Here's the other thing I love about the boat show, folks, is when you get there, there's those items there. It's like, I don't know where I can find that. You know, it might be a part for your dock. You know, it might be a part for your boat. It might be an accessory on your boat. It might be you can find them there. And that's one of the things I really like about the boat show.
Well, and you know, we always talk about the pontoons and the fishing boats and the personal watercraft and the wakeboard boats, but you take a look at the docks. You know, docks are something that's great to upgrade. And even if you walk around, you're like, holy cow, they got a bench and a umbrella hanging off the side of that dock.
Right.
I want to grab that because that looks cool.
There are
And-
little things that you do to improve what you have that it's like, you know, every year you can pick away at it. You can do all of that. you know?
Or if you need your canvas is going bad on you, we got a canvas guy there. You know, there's just all sorts of different things there.
Yep,
Is
it's
it
meant
true
for
in your
fun.
teens you go personal watercraft, that wakeboard stuff, all that flippity active
Well, the
stuff?
knees are good.
And then in
Yeah.
your 20s and 30s, you're more into that speed and power and prestige and blah, 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 blah. And then when you're our age, it's just how slow can this pontoon float?
Whatever is easiest on my back at this point. So.
Here's the big difference. As somebody who's lived right by a lake since 1993, okay, it is changed. It's become more pontoon. Is what it's
when I
become.
started my career doing this, it was like the big power boats, you know, with the cabins underneath and this and that. You know, the things that you'd be on for a week. And I've seen the transition to pontoons, and it's just clearly what people want.
Yep.
I thought maybe you should get an Al Chervik boat from Rodney Dangerfield's character.
You dented. Hey, you scratched my anchor.
Hey, my buddy. All right.
On you, it looks good.
Only Jack Michaels can ask a question.
Poor Abby, because she has to take this phone call.
Oh, she loves it. Don't you love it, Abby?
I love it.
1-800-880-5346.
The nice thing is it's not complicated.
Yeah, no, it's just a 3-part question.
We're
It's
going to
okay.
make them answer it on air. Okay.
Yeah, that's easy for me.
It's at Laney's News and Views studio line. Yeah, your plumbing, heating, cooling, and electrical experts. If I were you, I'd call now because you're going to get free tickets.
Can they use the 237-5948 number also?
Absolutely. They can do that. That's our local number. I apologize. I should have got that out there. But you get 4 tickets. That's a $40 value. to the boat show. And the question,
We had to clear this past Barry and Brian.
by the way, Barry got you a little bit.
Barry went on.
I'm a technical person.
Barry's so smart. I had to rewrite. I had to change the question.
Yes. All right, give the question. Give it to him.
Are you confident? Okay,
No,
we got
wait,
lines
wait.
closing up?
Let her put them on hold so they can actually
I don't want
hear.
people Googling this.
Hear the. Okay, hold on. This is double secret stuff.
Double
This is-
secret.
right?
Abby's right. It is a three.
Brian,
it's
you
a
got this.
three-parter.
You and I
Yeah.
got this, but we were actually wrong
Yeah.
Well,
about.
technically, yeah.
But we
We're
were
right, but
Technically, we were wrong.
We knew the intent
Yes,
is the way to go.
You
All
tell
right.
me when to go, Joel.
Go.
Go now. Okay.
Do it.
We are looking for three answers. Got to have all three to get those valuable tickets. We're looking for the names of three boats. Question 1. Alan Hale skippered this boat. At least his character did. Question 2. Captain Stubing skippered the nickname of this boat. Question 3. The most popular boat sailed by pilgrims.
That's the only one I knew.
Okay, let's see if Don can nail it. Don, do
It's
I
also a
have you,
trucking
buddy?
company, I believe. Go ahead.
Are you there, Don?
Yes.
Okay, ask him question number 1.
Don, Alan Hale skippered this boat.
Love boat.
No,
No.
sorry, Don.
No.
Sorry,
No.
you know you gave it a good shot, but no,
No.
he's thinking ahead.
Yeah.
Right?
He was forward.
He was
Out of
forward.
rotation.
As soon as Abby
Well,
gives me
out of
names, let's
rotation.
get to Scott and see if he can nail it. Scott, wait a second.
Yeah.
Jack's got a couple
All right,
questions. for
Scott.
you.
Joel in his hands got $40 worth of boat show tickets. Here we go. Alan Hale skippered this boat. At least his character did.
You got it, Scott?
The FF Minnow.
yes.
There's one.
Are we doing a ding, ding, ding,
Ding, ding, ding, ding, ding. I'll do the ding, ding, ding.
Question 2.
Abby, you do the ding, ding, ding. Everybody loves your
Okay,
voice.
I'll
She
do
looks
it.
at us and does the
Yeah.
ding, ding every day. Question 2. Captain Stubing skippered this nicknamed boat.
No idea.
Oh, Scott, I wanted you so bad.
Oh, Scott,
I
you had
wanted
it.
Scott so
He should have
bad.
got together with, was it Don before? Those
Right.
two would have been 67% of the way there.
Mark still has to get the first one. Go, Mark.
Mark, you ready? Alan.
It's the SF Minnow.
Okay, boom.
Yep.
Captain Stubing skippered the nickname of this boat.
The Love Boat.
And for the prize. Oh, there's the dinghy.
Wow. Had the ding.
Way to go.
So ironic that we're using a dinghy for all the. Question 3.
But
Thank you. The question 3 is this one. The most popular boat vesseled by pilgrims.
Well, there were a couple, but it's got to be the Mayflower.
It is.
There we are.
Winner.
Scott, you know, Mark nailed it. Nailed it.
Mark.
are you going to
Right
go?
on the mark.
Are you going to go to the boat show?
Yes, and like you, I've dropped 45,000 there.
Oh, well,
Barry
thank
just
you.
smiled. Yeah.
okay, Mark, hang on hold.
You're the guy they're looking for, Mark. All right, you got 4
Well,
tickets.
not
for the boat show.
45,000. It would be $44,480
There you go.
or $60. Yeah,
Yeah.
Oh, because he's saving.
he's saying 40.
I know. Think
There you
about
go.
it that way.
Yeah.
So, Bear, how, COVID?
Yep.
Any fears? No
No,
problem?
not at all. You
Right.
know, we were here last year and we had a mask mandate. Everything went well. There's no mandates at all. So there's nothing. It's just free and open.
Well-
So if you want to wear a mask, by all means, knock yourself out. But there's nothing required at the Fargo Dome.
No, and I have to tell you, walking around the boat show last year, it wasn't there on anybody's sleeve. We just walked around. We visited people. It was, we had a great time.
Yeah, and even the dealers altered how they put up their displays. They kind of spread things out a bit more.
Yeah.
And I expect that they'll do that again. But, we've been through this for a couple of years now.
Yeah.
Everybody's pretty much had
Life's
something.
kicking in.
But yeah. So,
So
yeah,
I
we're
gotta
just-
tell you, the coolest thing is you stand up on the concourse when the show's going on, and you just see the families and the groups of guys just walking around, and you'll see people that's like the only time they see each other is out at the boat show, the sportsman show, and they'll catch up or they'll talk about how their summer was on the lake, and they'll be standing there with the cold beer, just enjoying the day.
Oh,
and
yeah.
The
hanging
last
out. It's
person
awesome.
in the world I would take is my kid or my grandkid. Because, we got to have one of those. And the next thing you know, you're buying them. Which is the coolest part. It really is.
It is. I love seeing the families in the pontoons.
I do, too.
Because the kids are running around and mom's figuring out who's going to sit where and the old man's trying to figure out the radio. And it is just fun. You see their summer in front of them. Yeah. So it's great. It's great
Plus,
fun.
they sell wieners the size of a Louisville Slugger. There. Are we doing concessions again this year, I think?
Yeah.
I'd imagine.
It's too early to be talking.
Wow. Leaders.
No.
Okay, so here's YouTube's trivia question. Jack Michaels, all right? Three condiments: relish, mustard, ketchup. Which one does he put on his hot dog?
Oh, I hope it's relish and mustard.
You're out.
I'm going to go with mustard.
Mustard only.
Mustard only.
I just haven't developed a relationship with relish yet. It just looks all
mushy,
kind of mucusy. It's got a mucus
feel. It is cold and flu season.
It's like you got a pickle, chewed it up, and spit it out.
You're lucky we didn't get the
I agree. Mustard.
Mustard. Right?
Ketchup goes on burgers.
Let me get back to the work part. The boat show is going on, and tell people about it.
Yeah, so Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, we open the doors at 12 noon on Friday, and it's going to go all 3 days. Electronic seminars all weekend long. But again, if you are interested on something new for On the Water, it behooves you to get down to the Dome, make that best deal.
Boom.
Get in the rotation because you got to strike early to get what you want this summer.
And that's the best advice he can give. Yeah. Don't find yourself in June
dawdle.
saying, "Oh, I can't find one." Well, now's the time to find one. Right now.
Yeah.
And we talked about the adult ticket prices are only $10, but kids 6 to 12 are only $2.50. Kids 5 and under are free. So no excuse not to bring the family.
Exactly.
And save $1 off. Discount coupons at fargoboatshow.com.
Yeah.
Right. And somebody just won for him just because they knew the Mayflower.
He's like, I didn't get to my fourth question.
Which was?
Name the 3 children of Marco Polo. Yeah, it would have been tough.
I didn't know you had
I would
children.
have taken Fantina, Balela, and Loretta. See, you're
That
lucky.
would have been tough.
Abby, I know you knew.
I thought you were bluffing.
No, those are the 3.
Really?
Marco.
Google it.
Polo. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks, guy. What's the website? Where do they go?
FargoBoatShow.com. Everything you need to know about the show.
Thanks for coming in, you guys.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
You bet. When we come back, the bad part for you is more of the same, folks.
Hey, this is Abby Miller with the
Dear
Mighty
Kansas
790.
Couch Potato Radio. Did you see that?
It Takes Two.
Doug Miller with the morning crew this morning.
News Radio.
Amy Eiler with It Takes Two.
This is Jack Michaels, Voices Force.
Too tall.
Joel Heitkamp here on the Mighty
Sarah Heinrich.
Tyler Access, your home.
The Mighty 790 and 104.7 FM KFGO. The names you know, the voices you trust.
Thanks for watching News and Views on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and like our page. And send us a text anytime at 35270.
So today on MSUM campus, we're doing an ice jam, which is we're combining a bunch of percussion instruments with ice instruments, which are also going to be used in a percussive form. We're going to hit them with mallets, hammers, all those types of things. Today is all improv, so we're all just kind of working with ideas that we just kind of think of as we go, and we kind of play off each other, and it's fun to collaborate, but also have a sense of
Well, we're doing a food giveaway event to the community. A lot of people are facing food insecurity at this time. As we can tell, we had to start about an hour early because we just had so many people lined up. So as people come up and they need whatever they need, volunteers are taking care of it. It's all contactless, so nobody has to get out. And just making sure whatever the greatest need. We're just getting the greatest good. We're going until the food is out. As people are coming in, if they need 2 boxes and 2 gallons of milk, that's what we're giving. We don't want to leave anybody out.
I was in the hospital, and I saw a flyer on the wall. And all the nurses were talking about taking people down there to get food and stuff. I got out last night. The hospital last night, and I said, man, I'm going to do this. When I came from Williston here, I lived on these streets for 3 years, caring. And that's what this is. That's the way I see it. Very helpful. I think it's going to be very helpful because I know people that are doing without.
I think it's truly remarkable how much need there is out there. Like I said, we were going to start at noon, but we had so many people lined up. We started at 11, and volunteers have been working their tail off since then. I'm thankful for that. I think this shows that there is some huge needs in the community, and we got some things we got to address.
Had that come up, would you go back to your bride-to-be or your groom-to-be and say, hey, we got to move this wedding?
If it's a Super Bowl?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I mean, well, you can't move a wedding. How far in advance did we realize?
My son-in-law had tickets, I think it was his grandparents. I know it was. They had tickets to the Super Bowl. I think it was the Vikings against the Miami Dolphins. And so they went.
That was a Super Bowl?
Yep, they went. Vikings lost. Anyway, so they go and they frame the tickets, and that I've got that in the frame deal.
Yeah.
$25 for the tickets. It's either $25 or $27 for the tickets.
What?
Think about that, how cheap that was. It was like 74, something like that.
That's a bargain.
$25.
Similar cost now.
Let's talk about the FM diversion when we get back. Thanks for watching News and Views on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and like our page, and send us a text anytime at 35270.
Well, we're doing a food giveaway event to the community. A lot of people are facing food insecurity at this time. As we can tell, we had to start about an hour early because we just had so many people lined up. So as people come up and they need whatever they need, volunteers are taking care of it. It's all contactless, so nobody has to get out. And just making sure whatever the greatest need. We're just getting the greatest good. We're going until the food is out. As people are coming in, if they need 2 boxes and 2 gallons of milk, that's what we're giving. We don't want to leave anybody out.
I was in the hospital, and I saw a flyer on the wall. And all the nurses were talking about taking people down there to get food and stuff. I got out last night, the hospital last night, and I said, man, I'm going to do this. When I came from Williston here, I lived on these streets for 3 years, caring. And that's what this is. That's the way I see it. Very helpful. I think it's going to be very helpful because I know people that are doing without.
I think it's truly remarkable how much need there is out there. Like I said, we were going to start at noon, but we had so many people lined up. We started at 11, and volunteers have been working their tail off since then. I'm thankful for that. I think this shows that there is some huge needs in the community, and we got some things we got to address.
So today on MSUM campus, we're doing an ice jam, which is we're combining a bunch of percussion instruments with ice instruments, which are also going to be used in a percussive form. We're going to hit them with mallets, hammers, all those types of things. Today is all improv, so we're all just kind of working with ideas that we just kind of think of as we go, and we kind of play off each other, and it's fun to collaborate but also have a sense of
here with another News Radio.
Hey, this is Abby Miller with the
Derek Hansen, Couch Potato Radio. Did you see that?
It Takes Two.
Doug Miller with the morning crew this morning.
News Radio.
Amy Eiler with It Takes Two.
This is Jack Michael, Voices Force.
Joel
Heitkamp here on the Mighty
Sarah Heinrich.
Tyler Access, your home.
The Mighty 790 and 104.7 FM KFGO. The names you know, the voices you trust.
those are just the perks.
It was cold in there
Yeah.
this morning.
I wouldn't go back.
Yeah. So if they want anybody wants to meet me in my office, just send them there. And then because usually they're mad when they come to speak to the ops manager, and then they'll cool down.
Yeah.
There. Today's a good day for staff.
That's a good idea.
meetings.
Yeah.
We do have some work today. We're going to talk about Summit Carbon Solutions. We're going to get a chance to visit about Empower Commission, and we're going to do that with Wade Beauchamps. We're going to get a chance to visit with him. Also, at some point today, we get to do some grading. You know, use any scale you want. A scale of 1 to 10, a scale of A to F. You can do anything you want, but the questions are coming your way. And believe me, you're going to want to answer them. I got a chance, I don't know, it's been about a year, I suppose, that I got to know Jody Smith and followed her work. And quite frankly, she's good at it. And she gives you direct answers to direct questions, which as a talk show host and quite frankly as a taxpayer, I like. Jody recently took over the Director of Lands and Compliance for the Metro Flood Diversion Authority. We used the word recently. Jody, how you been?
I'm good. How are you?
Define recently. How long have you had that job?
I started on November 1st, so I've been in it, just a couple of months. So
how you liking it?
I love it. I do. I love it. I love dealing with land. I love dealing with North Dakotans. I love dealing with difficult situations and trying to help it make it a little bit better. So I think it's been a great job so far.
But you're still helping out North Dakota, aren't you?
Sir. Yes, sir. I'm still the acting land commissioner, and the land board is working to appoint someone else. And I know there's some interviews occurring this week. And so hopefully the goal is that we'll make that transition sometime in March.
Okay. So the job that you have here in the East, tell people what that is, what you're working on with the Metro Flood Diversion.
Well, hopefully most of your listeners are familiar with it, but it's a pretty significant project. It's something that we would consider a mega project in the nation, and it's one of a kind that has some very unique funding opportunities. I know there was a lot of press in this community about some of those funding opportunities last week. And so my job is to come in and make sure that from a lands perspective, whether it's an acquisition of the land or a flowage easement or environmental easement, those all get in place so that the project can be successful, but also knowing that we need to protect the landowners as well. And we need to, pay them fair and just compensation. And we need to kind of go through the right process and working through some of the compliance. And there's nothing out of order with the compliance, but knowing that, we need to have the right documentation in place. We need to have it all in the right place, policies in place. And again, kind of making sure, I call those guardrails. Mm-hmm. And so making sure those guardrails in place so that as the Diversion Authority continues, because after the project is operational, there'll still be a team here, so that when the flood comes the next time, we're prepared for it.
So the only people that are listening to you with the radio stations that they're listening to right now that you don't affect are the people that are listening in Montana right
Correct.
now. Because you're on in Crosby and Tioga,
right.
But it affects them because they've got financial interest in this. It affects the people listening in South Dakota because what you're talking about is holding water back during some key times. The people in Minnesota, they got skin in the game because of money. And of course, in the Red River Valley, we all know about this project. So when it comes to a radio talk show host that comes from the South to the North every day, I see it.
Yes.
I see the progress. I see what's being done. I saw the interstate rebuilt on a temporary basis before that gets all back dug out again. When you say it's a project big on a national scheme of things, it is. It really is. It's a lot of dirt getting moved.
We like to say, when you start a project and it takes you 30 minutes to drive to the end of the project, that's a big project. I mean, there's a lot of dirt, there's a lot of concrete, there's a lot of employees coming. There's a huge economic benefit, and you're correct in making that statement. Some people on the western part of the state want to know, well, how does this affect me? Well, it increases the economy for the entire state. I mean, we don't have businesses that want to move in here because the potential for flooding. If we can mitigate that, increase the economy, diversify our economy, I think that's better for the entire state. And when one community goes down in North Dakota, I think we all go down because we all want to help each other. We're still that tight-knit community here. And so when there were floods in Minot, I know my husband was up there and he was sandbagging and he was helping and he was hauling people around. And that's what's important, is that we protect each other in this great state.
So with all this work being done, with all this dirt moving, I I thought about this because I have friends that are in the affected area that aren't supporters of the diversion.
Right.
And their farmland is very much affected. And one of those individuals who's a good friend, I was talking to him about it, and I don't think the issues are resolved between he and the diversion. In other words, I don't think you have an easement yet.
That could be true.
So how do you resolve that if you're already moving dirt?
So there's 4 components to the project. So you have your in-town levees, which most of that has been completed. So they raised the levees so that it could sustain greater water flow through it. There's the diversion channel. So that's what's going to run on the western side of the city. That's where the land acquisitions occurred. And so that has all occurred. And then what we're moving into is the 3rd and 4th. So you have the southern embankments. So you're going to see, that's where you're kind of seeing all the dam-like features being built to the south. And then that's where we need to get all those flowage easements and environmental easements. Those letters haven't been sent out yet. Those are going to go out in March. We're going to have some public meetings down in the south of Fargo that our constituents can come. We're going to present. We'll be there. We'll be willing to answer questions. Our land agents will be there. So those letters haven't gone out because appraisals haven't been approved by the board yet. I haven't even seen those appraisals. There's a pretty rigorous process by which those appraisals come in. We review them, and then those letters will go out the door to start informing, again, any landowner down there that has land. So you're correct in making that statement. If they're in that 3rd and 4th component area, we have not kind of gone through the rest of the project.
So how do you begin or have the other work going before you know that you can access that land? Or are we just counting on eminent domain in the end?
Well, I hope to not ever use that word. And so
but you knew the word was going to come up.
I knew it was going to come up. I knew it was going to come up. Really, I hope that we can, the project does have to occur, and the project will occur. And that's part because there was a settlement agreement that, went into place several years ago. And so again, my goal is to come in, work with those landowners, meet with them with the land agents, and ensure that whatever appraisal was put in place, whatever program we can put in place. We've tried to step in and put insurance programs in place, relocation programs in place. We have loan programs in place, kind of going above and beyond what was required of the Diversion Authority. I can't remove the angst and the pain that occurs for a family that has to essentially leave their homestead that may have been in their family for generations. I can't even pretend I know what that feels like because I've never had to do that myself. And the government's never kind of stepped in and asked me to let go of something that was so meaningful to me. My job is to come in and make that process as less painful as possible and to provide whatever resources I can to kind of assist them in that process. So from my position, you're right. It could end up in that position. I don't want it to. My goal is to sit down, try to negotiate, try to find a solution, and again, make this process as less painful as possible.
When we come back, let's talk about values and the determination. Yep. Like you said, you don't know what the evaluations are yet, but these guys meet at the knicker.
Yes,
they talk to each other. They talk to each other and they say, I got this. What did you get? And those things matter. So when we come back, more with Jody Smith. She is the Director for Lands and Compliance for the Metro Flood Diversion Authority. But we head to Too Tall Tom Szymanski and we find out what's going on. Thanks for watching News and Views on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and like our page and send us a text anytime at 35270.
Well, we're doing a food giveaway event to the community. A lot of people are facing food insecurity at this time. As we can tell, we had to start about an hour early because we just had so many people lined up. So. As people come up and they need whatever they need, volunteers are taking care of it. It's all contactless, so nobody has to get out, and just making sure whatever the greatest need. We're just getting the greatest good. When we're going until the food is out. As people are coming in, if they need 2 boxes and 2 gallons of milk, that's what we're giving. We don't want to leave anybody out.
I was in the hospital, and I saw a flyer on the wall. And all the nurses were talking about taking people down there to get food and stuff. I got out last night. The hospital last night, and I said, man, I'm going to do this. When I came from Williston here, I lived on these streets for 3 years, caring. And that's what this is. You know, that's the way I see it. Very helpful. I think it's going to be very helpful because I know people that are doing without.
I think it's truly remarkable how much need there is out there. Like I said, we were going to start at noon, but we had so many people lined up. We started at 11, and volunteers have been working their tail off since then. I'm thankful for that. I think this shows that there is some huge needs in the community, and we got some things we got to address.
Hey, this is Abby Miller with the
Derek
Mighty
Hansen,
790.
Couch Potato Radio. Did you see that? It Takes Two. Doug Miller with the morning crew this morning. News Radio.
Katie Eiler with It Takes Two.
This is Jack Michaels, Voices Forces. Joel Heitkamp here on the Mighty
Sarah
790.
Heinrich.
Tyler Axis, your host.
The Mighty 790 and 104.7 FM KFGO. The names you know, the voices you trust.
So today on MSUM campus, we're doing an ice jam, which is we're combining a bunch of percussion instruments with ice instruments, which are also going to be used in a percussive form. We're going to hit them with mallets, hammers, all those types of things. Today is all improv, so we're all just kind of working with ideas that we just kind of think of as we go, and we kind of play off each other, and it's fun to collaborate but also have a sense of
She is the Director of Lands and Compliance for the Metro Flood Diversion Authority. That's a long name. Can we shorten that in any way, Jody? Can we get a nickname? Can we,
Just call it the authority.
There you go.
There you go.
Their authority when it comes to the diversion. We were talking about, valuations of land. And to me, this is the most dangerous thing to have happen. And I'm going to give you an example, okay? Say you're the Kindred School District. And the Kindred School District has relied on the property values to fund its school, right? I mean, if Joel Heitkamp's house is worth X, you get X amount of percentage of that money. If it's worth X plus Y, it's a whole different thing. It wasn't until the Diversion Authority did all this that the folks out at Oxbow got reevaluated, and it was shown how incredibly off those evaluations were. Now you sit there and you're dealing with people on this quarter of land, that 80 acres of land, and if there isn't some uniformity to it, these guys are going to rise up. If Ted got this much and Ed got this much or Bill got that much, it's not going to go well. So how do you sort through all that?
Well, what I can tell you is what is our process for the flow easements. So those are the ones that are about to come out the door. Again, we hope to have them out the door the 1st of March. Crown appraisals came in. They completed the appraisals for all the parcels that we're looking at for those flowage easements. We then have a consultant who reviews the process that Crown appraisal went through. So I wouldn't say they went through and audited all of the appraisals, but they looked at the process and validated that Crown appraisals took the necessary steps to get to the valuation. Then what will happen is we'll release that number. Every landowner has the right to go get an appraiser and have them appraise the value as well. I think one of the concerns is that the value of land is increasing exponentially and so quickly that those appraisals can become outdated very quickly. And when
You're one auction away from land going up big time.
Right. And so it's like, how frequently do we need to redo those? Those appraisals cost money. They cost money for the authority, and that means the taxpayers. They also cost money to the landowners. And so what we're trying to do is ensure that the landowners have appraisers available so that they can get an independent review of the work that the Diversion Authority completed. And then again, see if we can come to an agreement. Some of our appraisers, when we look at them, are not that far off from the landowners, and then some of them are really off. And when they're really far off, that causes me just a point of concern. That means that attorneys might get involved in the conversation. And it's always our goal, again, to not have it end up that way. But again, the landowners need to be protected just as much as the Diversion Authority needs to be. And so that's our process for reviewing that. I know that there's been some consternation in the past. I know that we have some cases going through court on eminent domain right now. Again, my goal is to minimize that effect when we get into these flowage easements.
So the value, I mean, like you said, it's changing. I mean, one land auction away from, the price per acre of land going up $2,000 in some cases. I mean, it's booming, right? So the value after it's built, the value of a home on the north side of the diversion is going to go up because of the diversion.
That's our anticipation.
It's going to go up.
Yes.
It's
protected now.
They've got flood protection. They don't have to worry about it. They can build south and use some of that great area. The land value, if you've got a flowage easement on it and on any X number of year, you're not going to be able to raise a crop on it or however many weeks. Use whatever denomination you want, that would decrease the value of their land, would it not?
I'm not sure if it will necessarily decrease the value of the land, but what we're doing is limiting what the land can be used for. So you can't have your homestead there. There can't be any outbuildings out there. So that poses some challenges right there, right? So we're basically saying you can't build anything. No utilities can run out there. So again, there's some restrictions that will go into place. It's still going to be farmable. So you can still put a crop out there. There's some years it may never flood. There are 4 mitigation zones that we have created out there. That's depending on the elevation and how close it is to those embankments. If you're in mitigation zone 1, that's really the most restrictive. So that's kind of in that humpback that you see up there. I think it looks like Texas, but maybe that's because my husband's from Texas and I'm biased. And as you kind of move south, the mitigation zones become less and less restrictive because the anticipation is there could only be an inch of water on your land. Working with our crop insurance adjusters, looking at that, studying that, what we will provide and what the Diversion Authority will pay for is crop insurance. So if there's water on your land and it's on that land for too long, we'll pay for that.
The point I'm trying to make, though, is if you own the quarter of land south of Davies and north of Diversion, okay, you've got a piece of land you can develop. You can sell lots out for homes. You can make a lot of money doing that, and I can vouch for that because someone dear to me did that. Okay, so you can't do that south of the Diversion.
No, you cannot.
And so if you know you can't do it, how do you put a value on what you could have done versus what the current value is today?
I think that's a challenge. I really do. And I think that's the difference between some of the conversations happening between the landowners and the Diversion Authority about what is the value that you kind of place on that. And again, we're put in a precarious position because, again, we're there to ensure that somebody receives just and fair compensation. And at the same time, we recognize we're spending taxpayers' dollars to provide that just and fair compensation. And so really ensuring that whenever a dollar amount is put on that, that's through appraisers, that's through negotiations with legal counsel typically involved and the landowners and our land agents involved, it can take us up to 12 months to get through that conversation. And so that's why my biggest ask of everybody is just, keep an open mind, keep an open heart, and keep coming to the table to have those conversations.
But we're already moving dirt.
We are going to be moving dirt.
Right.
Yep.
So, I mean, we can say it takes 12 months, but we're moving dirt.
Yes, we are.
Okay. Jody Smith, ladies and gentlemen, a bunch of questions by text.
Okay.
Can you stick around for a little bit?
Absolutely.
All right. She's here. You call. You get a chance to visit with her. 1-800-880-5346 or 237-5948. Thanks for watching News and Views on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and like our page and send us a text anytime at 35270.
So today on MSUM campus, we're doing an ice jam, which is we're combining a bunch of percussion instruments with ice instruments, which are also going to be used in a percussive form. We're going to hit them with mallets, hammers, all those types of things. Today is all improv, so we're all just kind of working with ideas that we just kind of think of as we go, and we kind of play off each other, and it's fun to collaborate but also have a sense of
Hey, this is Abby Miller with the
Derek Hansen, Couch Potato Radio. Did you see that? It Takes Two. Doug Miller with the morning crew this morning. Jerkins News Radio.
Katie Eiler with It Takes Two.
This is Jack Michaels, Voices Forces. Joel Heitkamp here on the Mighty
Sarah Heinrich.
Tyler Axis, your host.
The Mighty 790 and 104.7 FM KFGO. The names you know, the voices you trust.
Well, we're doing a food giveaway event to the community. A lot of people are facing food insecurity at this time. As we can tell, we had to start about an hour early because we just had so many people lined up. So as people come up and they need whatever they need, volunteers are taking care of it. It's all contactless, so nobody has to get out. And just making sure whatever the greatest need. We're just giving the greatest good. When we're going until the food is out. As people are coming in, if they need 2 boxes and 2 gallons of milk, that's what we're giving. We don't want to leave anybody out.
I was in the hospital, and I saw a flyer on the wall. And all the nurses were talking about taking people down there to get food and stuff. I got out last night. Got out of the hospital last night, and I said, man, I'm going to do this. When I came from Williston here, I lived on these streets for 3 years, caring. And that's what this is. That's the way I see it. Very helpful. I think it's going to be very helpful because I know people that are doing without.
I think it's truly remarkable how much need there is out there. Like I said, we were going to start at noon, but we had so many people lined up. We started at 11, and volunteers have been working their tail off since then. I'm thankful for that. I think this shows that there is some huge needs in the community, and we got some things we got to address.
Three, four, six. She's dealing with land and compliance for the Metro Flood Diversion Authority. Let's get to I'm going to find out who's on that phone line. But first, I'm going to get to a couple of these text messages, if I can. Jody, when can the city resubmit the flood plan map so homeowners can stop paying for FEMA flood insurance? Do you know that?
I know what we need is for the project to be completed. So we need the comprehensive project, so all 4 components that I mentioned earlier to be working, and the whole project to be working and completed. Estimate is 2027. So that's our goal, is that diversion channel is built, that all the southern embankments are completed, and that we have all the flowage easements we need, so that when the floodwaters come, we are prepared to activate and make it operational. So it'll be a couple of years still.
The thrust of this text message, I'm just going to kind of cut it down, was on years when the land is being used to hold water, and
Yes.
it's flooded, and it's flooded because you guys pushed the water back on it. Should farmers have to pay property tax on that land? Is there a way of making sure they don't have to pay property tax on that land?
I don't know the answer to that. I'm not a tax expert. I'll be honest with you. It's something I probably need to learn more about. But if they're willing to share their number with me, it's something I can get back to them on, or I can come back on your show and maybe speak more intelligently to that. But that's an area where I've had to defer other tax questions to some of our attorneys to help me answer.
And I will tell you this, if you text a phone number, I will get that to her. Okay. And if you call and you don't want to give your phone number out on air, which I don't blame you, you just tell us and we'll put you on hold, and Abby will get the phone number to Jody. Nick, you are on with Jody Smith. Go ahead, Nick.
Good morning, Jody. Good morning, Joel. See, I just had a question, kind of, I guess, specific to my situation. I was thinking of purchasing a home in the Hickson area. Is there flood mitigation set aside for Hickson, and how will that be paid for? Will it be assessed in specials, or does the Diversion Authority have money already set aside for that?
Well, we're going through, and I don't know if you would be assessed specials. Again, it's going back to that tax question where I'm really not sure kind of what specials would be assessed to you. I know that the Diversion Authority is working with all of our outlying communities to get memorandums of understanding so that, any area that would be impacted by our project, the local communities have the resources that they need. And so if you're willing to share your number with Abby, I can get a hold of one of my attorneys and call you back.
I think it's safe to say that Hickson's on the south end of the flood. The Diversion Authority. So I'm going to put you on hold, Nick, and let Abby talk to you for a second. Jody, I've not been afraid to challenge the project.
I've heard that,
and that's a good thing in my opinion because it's got too many supporters out there. And I think that some of the other things, the question he just asked about Hickson, and I'm going to throw this to you so that as you gauge your job and you look at land and you look at values and you look at what you can do for people, that the diversion is going to happen. The project's good. It's already happening. Now we're down to what's the best deal you can make. Because I'm sorry, it's and I've told good friends that it's going to happen. So they need to visit with someone like you and get the best deal they can. That's fair. Okay, where the problem lies. And this was before you got the keys, okay, was it came in on who you were in some cases. And that should never be on a project this big. And I'm just going to give you an example. Oxbow, they were an incorporated city, which means they were ahead of the curve. Hickson, a village, not an incorporated city. Bakke Addition, not part of Hickson, not an incorporated. So those two are left to the governance of the township. And the township is left to the governance of the county. Well, we all know where the county is at. What ticked me off in all this was Oxbow, when they thought they were on the same chopping block that Hickson and Bakke were, they threw in on a lawsuit with Hickson and Bakke. And as soon as they got their protection, as soon as they got their homes relocated, as soon as they got their golf course built by the government, then all of a sudden they were involved in a lawsuit. And the folks from Hickson and Bakke, who were much more blue collar, much more, they got left behind. And so as you do your job, I plead with you to not look at this as a who's who kind of an issue when it comes to settling some of these values.
No, I'm not going to say that's untrue. I know that through this project over the course of many years, probably the past decade, I think we're sitting at, there have been some politics that have come into play. Our political leaders have helped us. They've helped us make this project a success. They've helped us secure the funding we need for it. But I also think that there are some politics that came into play in some of the decisions that were made. My job is really, again, to treat everybody fairly, to treat everybody justly, to give everybody the same deal. I do recognize that at the end of the day, they're going to talk. So there were conversations about these flowage easements, for example, that we would send them out in phases. So if you're in mitigation zone 1, you get yours, 1 week, zone 2 the next week. And we decided to not do that because what we know is they're all going to sit at the Knickerbocker or some other place, and they're going to have a conversation about what was offered to them and kind of what that appraisal says about their land. And so we wanted to ensure that we're being as transparent as possible, that this is the same process that was used for everybody, regardless of your financial wealth, your political acumen, whatever is coming into play, and that you are getting the same deal, the same review as anybody else is getting when we kind of talk about this.
The other thing I do think the authority in recent year did well is they sat down with entities like Wilkin County and Richland County who had an interest in, and they were in this dogfight too, and they said, look, we can go on and on and on about this, but here's a dollar amount, put it to work in your county. We won't tell you how, but, I'll use the term bottom off, but bottom off in a way where they felt it was fair.
Right.
Okay. And so that's where you're going to be with some of these landowners.
No, that's correct. I mean, I don't expect this to be an easy next couple of years. I think there will be some challenging conversations. And again, my whole role is to remain open, be available for those conversations, listen to criticism, listen to that feedback. I mean, I promised you, I think back in October when I was on your show, I'd come back and I would listen. What can we be doing better? What can we do different? Understanding the project is going to happen. how can we communicate to the public better? How can we be more transparent? What do you need from us so that you can see what's going on in the Diversion Authority? Do we need to improve our website? Do we need to start emailing newsletters out? Do we start mailing newsletters out? Again, do I just come on your show regularly? How can I listen to you and hear that feedback and then incorporate it into the work that we're doing? And I think that's important.
North Dakotans, because you know it. I mean, you've worked on for them for a while now. You look at, frugal is the right word. And
yes.
It doesn't matter if you're a Republican or a Democrat. You don't just throw money out the window. They don't believe that money is the solution to a lot of things. When you see, 2 lanes of interstate, when you see both north and south of the interstate built and then be told in a couple of years that all gets ripped out again, that isn't something that they fully grasp, and that's going to be a hurdle for you on some of this, because it's like, okay, you took the dirt from here, you put it to work here, you needed so doggone much dirt, it looked like we were the military doing this. And what you're telling me is in a couple of years, you're going to dig all that back up again.
And I think, that gets in some really complex conversations that involve our engineers. We have multiple engineering firms working on this. I can relate it back to, in 2011 when the flood was in Minot. If you don't raise those roads and people can't get across those communities, some really tragic things start happening. I used to work at the hospital up at Trinity, and we had some floods. It was after 2011, and I remember sending a boat out to get a cancer patient from her home so that she could get into town so that she could get her cancer treatment, and then boating her back to her house because the roads weren't high enough for her to get across that land. And so the goal is that our communities can always transport, they can get to where they need to be. And so it seems ludicrous now because it seems like it's a waste of money. But in the grand scheme of things, it is important to raise that road. I get that there can be some frustrations because it looks like you're like my husband. He's good at this. He repiles, right? He goes around the house and I'm like, you're not fixing anything. You're just repiling something, sweetheart. And it's going to look like that for a while because we do have to move a lot of dirt. We do need that dirt. And so what we're trying to do is take dirt from one area and move it to the other and do it in the most efficient way possible. And I can tell you what drives a group of engineers crazy is inefficiencies. So they get in a room and all of those engineers from multiple engineering firms, their goal again is to make this happen as quickly, efficiently, and most cost effectively as possible. I'm not an engineer, just so everybody knows. So I don't always understand the nuances and everything that they're doing, but I do trust the group of people that we have coming together because again, while we have a great engineer on our team, Chris Bakigard, he has a whole team of engineers kind of sitting behind him and helping him to make these decisions. And so I do trust as a collective whole that they're doing the right thing.
I also wonder, and I'm not sure that you can solve this. It's been around long enough, but the sheer structure and the design of it evolves, it changes. And when this whole project first began, I remember the catch for the city of Fargo was never to use the word billion because, the sale out there was that it was going to be $990 million because if you use the word million rather than billion, it was much more sellable. Now we're at $4 billion. I mean, it grows.
It grows.
And I will tell you, Jody, it's not going to get built for $4 billion. It's going to be more.
Inflation is a beast, we'll say.
Yeah.
Okay, you didn't have to bleep me.
Well,
inflation is a beast. And so working through some of the constraints that we just see across the nation right now, that's something we will have to contend with. Yeah. And I get it. I mean, it's a shocking number.
But I've never seen an engineering firm ever, and I did this for a living for 23 years. With all due respect to the engineering firms I worked with, I've never seen them ever cut back a project. And engineers are really apt to say, if we just did this over here or did that there, and that's the thing that the public's really got to safeguard now.
Well, and I get it because my youngest son's going to go to engineering school. He's in robotics. He came out here for a competition a couple weeks ago. He wants the coolest thing ever, right? I mean, they want the coolest robot with the most gadgets. I can tell you that particularly, the Red River Valley Alliance is here. They have a strict budget. That channel is not going to increase. Whatever was kind of put down on the map, we're not getting any more money. So the Army Corps of Engineers, if anybody was kind of watching the press on Friday, there was a huge announcement that $437 million was dedicated in federal dollars. we're not getting any more money from the federal government. And so we're really kind of watching, our P's and Q's and kind of what are we spending our money on. I mean, we had a conversation yesterday about an opportunity that's $24,000 for a $4 billion project. We said no. We thought it was a waste of money. We didn't think that we would get the value back from spending that money that they were promoting to us, and we turned it down. And so again, it's kind of looking at, what can we do most efficiently and move the dirt the fewest amount of times, because I get it. They like cool gadgets and they like to create great things, but they also, they like to be efficient and they don't want to move that dirt 5 times.
One of the biggest troubles I ever got in on this project was, it was brought to me, not me bringing it to the public. But when you have conflicts of interest between engineers and people that are supposed to be representing people that are supposed to be challenging the engineers, you're going to have problems. And North Dakota's that small that you can have that. And I think that some people weren't all that ethical when it comes to talking about the conflicts of interest that they had. But and hopefully that's been fixed too. Jody, if people need to get in touch with you, how do they do that?
Go ahead and email me. You can email me at smithj@fmdiversion.gov. You can call me. You can call the Diversion Authority. They'll get a hold of me. There's a lot of ways for you to work with us. Again, you can call Joel. You can call Chris Bockegard. We're kind of all open. I really do.
Not this Joel, by the way.
Not you.
Yeah.
Well, come on, Joel. I mean, you're a radio talk show host. That's their job.
I'll meet you at the Knicker.
Okay. But really what I want is constructive feedback. Again, if there is something that we can change, and I'm going to give a call out to Ricky Noonan. They represent a lot of our landowners out there. Igor is driving to town tomorrow from St. Cloud, and I know that can be treacherous in the winter, to meet with me for an hour to discuss with me the process that we have in place. And my call to him is, what can I do better? And what can the Diversion Authority do better? And that means a lot to me because he's going out of his way to communicate with me feedback that we can improve things for his clients. And again, it's one thing to kind of throw up some bashing statements here and there. But again, if you can give me that feedback, I really do want to change things. You can ask some of my team members at the Diversion Authority. I've pressed them on a couple of things already of how we've been doing it, and maybe changing our approach, and how do we communicate with the public, and how do we get our message out there, and how do we interact with the landowners, and maybe with these lessons learned through the diversion channel and those acquisitions, we can apply those lessons and just make an easier process for those going through those flowage easements.
Thank you for the access. We'll do it again.
Okay, thank you.
Jody Smith, ladies and gentlemen, let's get to the weather cave and find Mr. Too Tall Tom.
So today on MSUM campus, we're doing an ice jam, which is we're combining a bunch of percussion instruments with ice instruments, which are also going to be used in a percussive form. We're going to hit them with mallets, hammers, all those types of things. Today is all improv, so we're all just kind of working with ideas that we just kind of think of as we go, and we kind of play off each other, and it's fun to collaborate, but also have a sense of
Hey, this is Abby Miller with the
Here,
Mighty
Kansas
790.
Couch Potato Radio. Did you see that
from It Takes Two.
Doug here with the morning crew this morning.
News Radio.
Amy Eiler with It Takes Two.
This is Jack Michaels, Voices Force.
Too Tall Tom.
Joel Heitkamp here on the Mighty
Sarah Heinrich.
Tyler Access, your home.
The Mighty 790 and 104.7 FM KFGO. The names you know, the voices you trust.
Thanks for watching News and Views on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and like our page, and send us a text anytime at 35270.
Well, we're doing a food giveaway event to the community. A lot of people are facing food insecurity at this time. as we can tell, we had to start about an hour early because we just had so many people lined up. So as people come up and they need whatever they need, volunteers are taking care of it. It's all contactless, so nobody has to get out. And just making sure whatever the greatest need. We're just getting the greatest good. When we're going until the food is out. As people are coming in, if they need 2 boxes and 2 gallons of milk, that's what we're giving. We don't want to leave anybody out.
I was in the hospital, and I saw a flyer on the wall. And all the nurses were talking about taking people down there to get food and stuff. I got out last night. The hospital last night. And I said, man, I'm going to do this. When I came from Williston here, I lived on these streets for 3 years, caring. And that's what this is. That's the way I see it. Very helpful. I think it's going to be very helpful because I know people that are doing without.
I think it's truly remarkable how much need there is out there. Like I said, we were going to start at noon, but we had so many people lined up. We started at 11, and volunteers have been working their tail off since then. I'm thankful for that. I think this shows that there is some huge needs in the community, and we got some things we got to address.
You and Tutal have been friends for years, back in TV world and in many other ways. He used 2 words today, Sarah. Did you hear those?
Above zero.
Above
we'll take it.
Zero. When he said that, I was like, yes.
Yes, if you know me and if you know Szymanski, we are not winter lovers. We'll say that. We're more of winter weenies, and we prefer it a little warmer than it has been.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't know if it's because I'm older, but I'm getting more whiny about cold weather. So.
But I'm not even old, and I whine about it all the time. I don't like driving on it. I don't like shoveling the snow. I don't like a lot to do with winter.
Yeah.
Give me 75 and sunny. I'll take it any day of the week.
What's going on in the markets?
We're seeing a mixed board right now. March corn down 3.5 at $6.16. December down 1.25 at $5.68. March wheat falls 29 cents at $9.18, while September's at $8.95, 21 cents lower. March soybeans up 7 cents at $14.14. New crop November at $13.24, up 6.25. With your markets, I'm Farm and Ranch Director Sarah Heinrich for the News and Views Radio Network from the Enterprise Sales Ag Studio.
Wade Beauchamp is going to be our guest when we come back. Summit Carbon Solutions. Stick around. More coming your way.
Well, we're doing a food giveaway event to the community. A lot of people are facing food insecurity at this time. As we can tell, we had to start about an hour early because we just had so many people lined up. So as people come up and they need whatever they need, volunteers are taking care of it. It's all contactless, so nobody has to get out. And just making sure whatever the greatest need. We're just getting the greatest good. We're going until the food is out. As people are coming in, if they need 2 boxes and 2 gallons of milk, that's what we're giving. We don't want to leave anybody out.
I was in the hospital, and I saw a flyer on the wall. And all the nurses were talking about taking people down there to get food and stuff. I got out last night. Got out of the hospital last night, and I said, man, I'm going to do this. When I came from Williston here, I lived on these streets for 3 years, caring. And that's what this is. That's the way I see it. Very helpful. I think it's going to be very helpful because I know people that are doing without.
I think it's truly remarkable how much need there is out there. Like I said, we were going to start at noon, but we had so many people lined up. We started at 11, and volunteers have been working their tail off since then. I'm thankful for that. I think this shows that there is some huge needs in the community, and we got some things we got to
Thanks for watching News and Views on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and like our page, and send us a text anytime at 35270.
So today on MSUM campus, we're doing an ice jam, which is we're combining a bunch of percussion instruments with ice instruments, which are also going to be used in a percussive form. We're going to hit them with mallets, hammers, all those types of things. Today is all improv, so we're all just kind of working with ideas that we just kind of think of as we go, and we kind of play off each other, and it's fun to collaborate but also have a sense of
Hey, this is Abby Miller with the
Derek Hansen, Couch Potato Radio. Did you see that?
It Takes Two.
Doug Miller with the morning crew this morning.
News Radio. Eiler with It Takes Two.
This is Jack Michaels, Voices Forces. Joel Heitkamp here on the Mighty
Sarah Heinrich.
Tyler Axis, your host.
The Mighty 790 and 104.7 FM KFGO. The names you know, the voices you trust.
Back home that I ride motorcycle with. He's worked in ag all his life. Doug he saw this project and he just, he knew that this was going to play out in the news. Well, we're going to bring Wade Basons in on this conversation. Wade is he is the executive director of Summit Carbon Solutions. Now, most recently, he was the president and general manager of BNI Energy. He served on the North Dakota Empower Commission since 2014. And in 2018, Wade was named chairman of the Lignite Energy Council. The reason I put all that out there is so you know what a broad, diverse skill set that he brings into this conversation. Wade, good to have you here with us on News and Views.
Well, thank you. Happy to be here.
Well, okay, the project. Summit Carbon Solutions partners with Blue Ammonia project to decarbonize ag supply chain. That's a lot. For the average person out there driving in their pickup or their car right now, describe what this project is.
Yeah, so the Summit Carbon Solutions project is really proposing to capture CO2 from ethanol plants in industrial facilities across the 5-state area, North and South Dakota, Minnesota, Iowa, Nebraska. Aggregate that CO2 into a pipeline system, all new construction, and deliver it to western North Dakota, Oliver and Mercer counties for injection and permanent storage. Most recently announced was our letter of intent working with the Great Plains nitrogen plant proposed up by Grand Forks to capture the CO2 from that fertilizer production, transport it into that system, and inject it and permanently store it in western North Dakota, Williston Basin geology. So in essence, what that's doing is it's really marrying energy, agriculture, and carbon management together right here in North Dakota, where you're taking natural gas produced in the Bakken, converting it to fertilizer that can be used by our farmers to grow corn that is feeding the ethanol, and take the carbon from all of that supply chain or that production process and permanently sequester it and store it here in North Dakota, therefore lowering the carbon intensity of that pathway of that energy and those ag supplies, and then maximizing the value of those products in the low carbon markets that we find ourselves in a position where markets are demanding and assigning a premium to lower carbon food and fuel products. And so that really uniquely positions North Dakota with this project in that way.
So another product that can come out of ethanol that can put a profit, you develop it into something that farmers so desperately need in the area of a cheaper fertilizer. Yeah. It's just the logistics that we got to talk about is what you're saying.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so let's do that. When this first concept started getting floated out there, we had the governor on to speak to the concept itself. And of course, he was, very upbeat about what this could do. I started getting pushback, Wade, from individuals saying, how are they going to pipe it? How is the pipeline going to work? How are they going to be crossing our land? I mean, there was some drawings out there of how this could happen. Where are we at with that, moving the product itself?
Sure. So we have, did the desktop routing of the pipeline facilities across the footprint. So really to interconnect all of the sources of CO2 to a main line and ultimately deliver them to western North Dakota. So we've identified a route. We've surveyed the majority of that route now, baseline cultural, environmental, archaeological survey. And now we're at the phase of going out and meeting with the landowners, requesting a easement from them, and really educating them on the property, working with them, or on the project, working with them on the alignment and the routing of that project across their property, and seeking voluntary easements from the landowners to site the pipeline across their properties.
I did this, maybe not to this scale, but actually when you add up the miles, I think I could match up. But when I first started at Rural Water, there was a little over 500 miles of water line out there, which means you had to have easements, you had to work with the townships, you had to work with the counties, you had to do, the school districts in some cases, all of that. And then when I left their employment, we had 2,800 miles. So I know what it's like to go out there and cross a farmer's land. Mm-hmm. The difference between then and now, if I went back to doing that kind of work, is farmers have tiled the heck out of their land. Mm-hmm. It isn't like I can just cut across here and worry about where the telephone is anymore. It's way deeper than that in terms of the amount of work that has to be done. Was that figured into the routing at all, Wade?
Yeah, it was, and that's really a big part of the negotiation of and working with the landowners on the location of the pipeline across their property. A big component of that is working with them to better understand where exactly are the drain tiles, or do they have plans for future drain tiles? And so then we can now at this stage design our system so that the two can coexist together. So there's lots of things we can do on the front end to make modifications to the drain tile system that's there, or plan for it in the future, change the depth of our line so that it doesn't interfere with the operation of the drain tile system later, or make modifications to the system before you put the pipeline in so that you put in headers and do different things to make that a functional drain tile system before and after.
How big a diameter of the pipe are we talking about? Obviously, it's going to vary.
Yeah, it varies. So in this area, they're 4 and 6 inch lines. We have a 4 inch line coming from Fergus Falls across, and then tying into a 6 inch line coming down from Castleton. And when those two intersect, then it's 8 inch line, and where it ties into a 24 inch main line that's coming through South Dakota and up to western North Dakota to the storage facility area.
Is my home area, is Hankinson part of this?
Yes.
Oh, they are. Okay.
So the Hankinson plant today is not part of the project. The Tharaldson plant is. The nitrogen plant proposed to be part of the project as well. Obviously the Hankinson plant is very close to the vicinity of the project, and so we're optimistic continuing to work them to have them become part of the project.
So you're looking to partner with them if you can make it all work financially.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay. So did you say Oliver and Mercer? Where are you taking this to?
Yeah, to Oliver and Mercer County, North Dakota.
So just rudimentary. You're in a science class room with sixth graders, fifth graders.
Yep.
Describe how this works.
So in essence, what we are doing is injecting CO2 at pressure, so it's liquid CO2, into a porous rock formation. So within the Williston Basin geology, we have multiple layers of sands and sandstones that have high permeability, high porosity, so high capacity to store additional fluids, that are surrounded by impermeable rocks that seal it. And that's what creates the container for storage. You have hundreds to thousands of feet of impermeable rock, and then hundreds of feet of porous rocks. And you're storing the CO2 into those porous rocks.
Okay. So there's no danger here of taking on, hey, you can pollute the ground, you can pollute the groundwater, anything like that.
Yeah, so the entire regulatory process is designed around protecting the freshwater zone.
Okay.
And the groundwaters, the U.S. drinking water sources. That's the entire regulatory structure and the process of developing and designing and developing and ultimately monitoring these facilities is designed around the protection of groundwaters.
So you're taking a product that normally would be injected into the atmosphere, right?
That's right.
At these plants. You're harnessing it. You're putting it in a pipeline. You're heading it off to Oliver and Mercer County. You're going to store it in the soil, and then what?
Yeah, so then it will be ejected into the formations, and will be permanently stored in that way, monitored from below the surface and above the surface to verify that it's staying where we put it, and monitor how it spreads within the property so we know where it's at. Okay, and so that's how it's permanently contained and verified to be permanently contained.
Okay, then the obvious question is, how much room is there?
So there's a number of third-party studies out there on the capacity to store in the Williston Basin, and they range between 150 and 250 billion tons of CO2. So to put that in context, that's enough capacity to store all the CO2 currently emitted in North Dakota for more than 8,000 years. It's a huge resource.
So when it's all done, say you take a quarter of land, just to put it in the landscape that I can understand. Say you take this quarter of land and you store CO2 in it. Does that take away what I can do with the land? Have you devalued the land?
No, I don't believe we've devalued the land in any way. What we're doing is providing the landowners, because the pore space is owned by the surface owner. So we're creating an opportunity for the surface owner now to monetize the value of their subsurface that didn't previously exist. So you think about the space that we're occupying with the CO2, it's 1 mile to 2 miles below the surface. That farming and ranching and agriculture on the surface can continue in the future just as it has in the past.
You're going to shake your head and say, why is he asking me this one? But because doesn't he get the concept of the science of it? But I think people are going to think this. You said surface owner. This doesn't involve the mineral rights owner at all.
It does not. It does not restrict the mineral rights.
So the fights that went on as the Williston Basin was developed between the surface owners and the mineral rights owners, that won't be part of this.
I don't believe so. No.
Does the oil industry like this?
The oil industry has been supportive, very supportive of carbon capture and storage. They need to address their carbon footprint as well.
Wade, hang with me. All right, this is fascinating, quite frankly. Let's head to the Weather Cave and find Too Tall Tom Szymanski and get people their weather forecast. Thanks for watching News and Views on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and like our page, and send us a text anytime at 35270.
Hey, this is Abby Miller with the
Derek
Mighty
Hansen,
790.
Couch Potato Radio. Did you see that?
It Takes Two.
Doug Miller with the morning crew this morning.
News Radio.
Katie Eiler with It Takes Two.
This is Jack Michaels, Voice of Sports.
Too Tall Tom.
Joel Heitkamp here on the Mighty
Sarah
7.
Heinrich.
Tyler Axis, your host.
The Mighty 790 and 104.7 FM KFGO. The names you know, the voices you trust.
So today on MSUM campus, we're doing an ice jam, which is we're combining a bunch of percussion instruments with ice instruments, which are also going to be used in a percussive form. We're going to hit them with mallets, hammers, all those types of things. Today is all improv, so we're all just kind of working with ideas that we just kind of think of as we go, and we kind of play off each other, and it's fun to collaborate, but also have a sense of.
Well, we're doing a food giveaway event to the community. A lot of people are facing food insecurity at this time. As we can tell, we had to start about an hour early because we just had so many people lined up. So as people come up and they need whatever they need, volunteers are taking care of it. It's all contactless, so nobody has to get out. And just making sure whatever the greatest need. We're just getting the greatest good. We're going until the food is out. As people are coming in, if they need 2 boxes and 2 gallons of milk, that's what we're giving. We don't want to leave anybody out.
I was in the hospital, and I saw a flyer on the wall. And all the nurses were talking about taking people down there to get food and stuff. I got out last night. The hospital last night, and I said, man, I'm going to do this. When I came from Williston here, I lived on these streets for 3 years, caring. And that's what this is. That's the way I see it. Very helpful. I think it's going to be very helpful because I know people that are doing without.
I think it's truly remarkable how much need there is out there. Like I said, we were going to start at noon, but we had so many people lined up. We started at 11. And volunteers have been working their tail off since then. I'm thankful for that. I think this shows that there is some huge needs in the community, and we got some things we got to
Oh, if you listen to News and Views a lot, we talk about every town out there. We have conversations about, what's going on in those towns. Well, in Fargo, Tony Gehrig is one of the leading individuals in the city commission, and he's announced he's not going to seek a re-election to that position. So there, you got it here. Wade Basons is our guest. He is the executive vice president of Summit Carbon Solutions. We were talking about the project that they've put in place to inject carbon into the soil up in Oliver Mercer counties. And Wade, I always, the project interests me enough, so we're talking about it on the break, and then I'm like, all right, don't forget to ask him that when we are on air. Let me give you an example. Is this happening anywhere else in the United States or Canada?
Yeah, today they're capturing CO2 from an ethanol plant near Decatur, Illinois. Been injecting and storing the CO2 from an ethanol plant for about 5 years.
Okay. When you do this, when you get started, how long after you begin your project before it's ended? And let me add one more to it. Will the federal government be part of this? How are you paying for it?
Yeah, so the project itself, it's about a $4.5 billion capital investment to construct the entire system, capture pipelines, storage facility, all that infrastructure, about $4.5 billion, all private and debt financed. So no government money to build the project.
Okay.
However, a portion of the revenue for the project is based on the federal tax credit, $50 per ton of CO2 that's stored and verified to be permanently stored, similar to a wind production tax credit.
Because the federal government wants CO2 captured and stored.
Correct.
Right.
Yep. So they're incentivizing that activity to permanently sequester.
Exactly. So thus giving you the incentive.
Yep.
So who owns it all when it's done?
So the project is being developed by Summit Ag. The company is Summit Carbon Solutions. The investors of the project own it when it's done.
This is okay. When I look at this project from the outside looking in, I look at this big industrial project that helps. I'm just going to give you the rosy picture from my standpoint.
Sure.
I want ethanol to succeed.
Yep.
Okay. You're grabbing carbon from ethanol. You're taking it to a place where you can store it, thus helping ethanol, just turning something else into something else you can make money on. Just the construction alone. Obviously, there's going to be a financial benefit to all of that. To me, in an ag base where you're dealing with fertilizer and some other things, other than crossing farmers' land and getting the easement to do that, where's the negative?
There really isn't one. The farmers, I think, that we're crossing understand the value proposition, right? This makes the corn markets more sustainable, the ethanol industry more sustainable, and us more competitive in the markets, both our ag and energy sectors. So that's not the issue. They get the value proposition of the project. It really comes down to the location of the line. Farmers generally landlords are not excited to have additional infrastructure on their property.
Yeah. Tell me.
Yeah. And so that's really it, is those kind of two things, is getting comfortable that, hey, it can work with their drain tile systems. It's not going to interfere with that, not going to interfere with their operations on the surface. And so really it's those aspects that farmers are most concerned about.
I have absolutely no doubt you and I are going to have more conversations about this, and ones where, as farmers find out more, they all as a group want to get access to you. It's my understanding you've been going out to meet with farmers in a collective small group type basis as well, if they want to. Congratulations for that, because that's the way to get it done. So thank you for coming on, Wade.
Absolutely.
I appreciate it. When we come back, the phone lines are yours. Here's my question. It's been 1 year. 1 year since President Biden has been president. What's your grade? I gave him one this morning with some friends. You might be surprised. Thanks for watching News and Views on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and like our page, and send us a text anytime at 35270. Here with
another Diamond at your news radio.
Hey, this is Abby Miller with the
Derek
Mighty
Hansen,
790.
Couch Potato Radio. Did you see that
from It Takes Two.
Doug Miller with the morning crew this morning.
Paul Jerkins News Radio.
Amy Eiler with It Takes Two.
This is Jack Michael, voice of sports.
Too tall,
Joel Heitkamp here on the Mighty
Sarah Heinrich.
Tyler Axis, your host.
The Mighty 790 and 104.7 FM KFGO. The names you know, the voices you trust.
Well, we're doing a food giveaway event to the community. A lot of people are facing food insecurity at this time. As we can tell, we had to start about an hour early because we just had so many people lined up. So as people come up and they need whatever they need, volunteers are taking care of it. It's all contactless, so nobody has to get out. And just making sure whatever the greatest need. We're just getting the greatest good. When we're going until the food is out. As people are coming in, if they need 2 boxes and 2 gallons of milk, that's what we're giving. We don't want to leave anybody out.
I was in the hospital, and I saw a flyer on the wall. And all the nurses were talking about taking people down there to get food and stuff. I got out last night, the hospital last night, and I said, man, I'm going to do this. When I came from Williston here, I lived on these streets for 3 years, caring. And that's what this is. That's the way I see it. Very helpful. I think it's going to be very helpful because I know people that are doing without.
I think it's truly remarkable how much need there is out there. Like I said, we were going to start at noon, but we had so many people lined up. We started at 11, and volunteers have been working their tail off since then. I'm thankful for that. I think this shows that there is some huge needs in the community, and we got some things we got to.
So today on MSUM campus, we're doing an ice jam, which is we're combining a bunch of percussion instruments with ice instruments, which are also going to be used in a percussive form. We're going to hit them with mallets, hammers, all those types of things. Today is all improv, so we're all just kind of working with ideas that we just kind of think of as we go, and we kind of play off each other, and it's fun to collaborate but also have a sense of
News Radio Network, big news out of Viking land. That's right, Skol, everybody. Jack Michaels, the voice of sports here on the News and Views Radio Network, has
Good morning.
entered the studio. Williston's very own.
WWWILLLLISTTTON. Williston.
Why not? Why not?
Because Williston.
There. How's that for
Hi, Ward
teeing
County.
one up?
Don't want to be dissing
The folks in
Why
Ward
not?
County. That was the old coyote magician.
That was our thing. Why
That's
not?
right.
Why not? Because Williston. That's right. Yeah, large news. Yeah. I guess Vikings had, they removed two people.
The two key people that run the place.
Your
the
GM, Rick Spielman, and then, of course, the Zim. So the Wilfs would come in, the owners there, they thought, okay, well, we're going to do this. Now, they said we're going to hire the GM first, and then you're going to find out who the coach is. So that first hurdle. That hurdle has, who knows in these days, though, the tail starts wagging the dog in half of these.
The new GM says, I didn't hire him. He's fired.
All right, he's got more power than you do. You just do the books. So they've got their GM. And, this you kind of saw coming when the Bears inked up, their deal with Ryan Poles, who came over from Kansas City. So these guys were interviewing with the Vikings. The Vikings are kind of looking at Ryan Poles, who might have been the get, and he was the Chiefs executive director of player personnel. So he's getting his deal done with the Chicago Bears. Now it's like, so the Vikings went, okay, Crazy Adolfo Mensa is our guy. And this he's got an undergrad and a master's from, Princeton and Stanford, comes from the intellect side of numbers, economics. And, he has been on various staffs. Now, most recently with the Cleveland Browns organization. And prior to that with the San Francisco 49ers organization. So those in our little, I know this might be deep dive for football. It's a GM. So the new GM for the Vikings, what you need to know is Kwesi Adolfo Mensah. That's first name is spelled Kwesi, but Kwesi Adolfo Mensah. And now, the people in the sports world are going, okay, so they hired Adolfo Mensah. So now they're going to say, who's he been attached to where we might be able to figure out who the coach is. I was already there, right? Yes. So that's a thing going on. So now you're thinking that if you go to, if he's got ties to San Fran, which he does, DeMeco Ryans is in his first year's defensive coordinator for the San Francisco 49ers. Well, he's got a short but brief history, a little bit with Adolfo Mensah. So is it San Francisco's defensive coordinator in which he goes after? Now, he's also overlapped with the 49ers offensive coordinator, Mike McDaniel. So that's a name out there too. So Joel, that immediately is what we're doing. We go, okay, who's Adolfo Mensah, overlapped with, whether it be with the Niners or what have you. So those are some names coming up. Kevin O'Connell, who's the Rams offensive coordinator, is also a thought that would come up. So we'll see where it goes. But they've got their GM. DeMeco Ryans seems to be the sexy pick right now because he's a good up-and-coming young defensive coordinator. They've certainly got some ties together with their times with the San Francisco 49ers. That seems to be the thing now. But again, we're probably a couple days.
What experience did he have with the Browns? I mean, you said he worked with the 49ers, he worked with the Browns, but what did he do for them? He was
I think the official title was Vice President of Football Operations.
Okay.
So
because Spielman, the one thing about Spielman that everybody talked about was he knew how to get draft picks and he knew how to draft. And that was supposedly his MO. Now, whether or not I agree with that, that's a whole nother thing. Does a bean counter understand how to draft?
Yeah, and he's come up right. He's got a master's degree in economics from Stanford. So he was the manager of football research and development for San Francisco. I mean, he's gotten his hands deep in it. He's formulated probably all these strategies of probably efficient player personnel stuff. So again, a younger guy, I think maybe 40, maybe,
Yeah.
That's the way to go. So my guess is who he hires, and if it is DeMeco Ryans, if it's another young coach, and he's not that old either, for goodness sakes, why do you and I just feel older every time a new coach is hired. But if it is that, maybe not the worst thing in the world. Numbers guy, maybe they can restructure Kirk Cousins or find a way to, minimize that and bring some cut. Right.
The Packers didn't hire him. They're $40 million over the salary cap.
Right. So maybe a numbers guy that's got a youth movement that is, has got some ties to San Fran. And Cleveland, that, and very well respected with the Browns organization and what he's been able to do. And maybe he does go grab a young DC like a D'Amico Ryans, and together they formulate plans for draft and what the identity of the Vikings will be. So all I know is the first hurdle, the first domino fell today for Vikings fans.
Well, and the one thing that for anybody who is questioning whether or not, we're going to lose this O coordinator or that D coordinator or that guy should be the head coach of the Minnesota Vikings, you're not going to hire a head coach until you hire a general manager.
Right. And it's just, unless your head coach is given like free reign, which rarely happens, where you're a coach and you're a coach and you have major say on this.
Unless you're Bill Parcells or Brian Belichick, you're not.
But you're right. GMs are the ones. That's why it's not uncommon sometimes when the GMs go or when the coach goes, the GMs go too, because those two are, it's like an AD and a head coach, oftentimes very much married with each other. And that'll happen here too with Adolfo Mensa, Joel, who he hires for a head coach. They will be forever linked and judged.
That's his first big decision.
And be judged on that moving forward. So, they don't take these things lightly.
So let me be a Vikings fan, as you know I am, for just a second. You look at the core, the foundation, the base of the Vikings team, right? I would contend that their offensive line was better this year. I would contend that Dalvin Cook is one of the premier running backs in the NFL.
Yeah.
I would contend that their D-backs actually got better this year. I would contend that Anthony Barr, I'd rather see him sign than not sign.
Summer a little bit older.
Yeah, he's a little bit older. And
Harrison Smith, obviously.
The huge weakness for the Minnesota Vikings is the defensive line, in my opinion, right? Between injury and depth, it just wasn't there this year. That being said, I don't think the Vikings need a complete rebuild.
Yeah, not a total flush the system.
No, I think we need a new, fresh attitude. We need a coach that can relate to players. We need a coach that doesn't get up in the morning and kick his dog. I get that.
If the struggles, as you're a Vikings season ticket holder or
still am,
you look at how many close games the Vikings were in this year. So to your point, obviously they had talent to be in every game. What was it? Was it the play calling? Well, when you hire a new coach, does that flush the system? Does that flush all the coaches? Is the OC gone? The DC gone? Is a whole new faction coming in? Will the Wolves say, no, we need you to keep, Clint Kubiak, because I think under another direction he might be better calling plays. Who knows how that's going to go on? But to your point, they were in a lot of ball games. And, maybe this shakeup and new eyes and new hands and new ideas on how to make this team better, meaning winning maybe 4 of the 7 that they, or whatever, maybe that's different. So I'm with you. I don't think it's a total, and plus you just can't afford to. Yeah. You got guys under contract that you got to keep. You can't just move them.
Just dump them.
Right. Not like fantasy football,
Callie Muslin's listening right now, I hope. Callie, if you're listening to Callie, Roy, call Callie and say, pay attention quick. Callie Muslin would tell you that the Vikings are not going to get any better until Kirk Cousins is gone. I, on the other hand, would take the opposite approach. I think that Kirk Cousins was nowhere near the problem with the Minnesota Vikings this year. In fact, if you look at more than 3/4 of his year, you could make an argument that he was an all-pro. And so for any coach to come in that, you look at who we're looking at this weekend, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Josh Allen isn't playing this weekend. And look at the year he had, right?
Phenomenal.
But you've got Mahomes. You've got, quarterback is the key position.
Problem is, I think as humans, maybe with anything, we tend to judge the one that we see in color as opposed to the other ones that we see in black and white, because Kirk Cousins is your quarterback. That's your Viking. If you're a Viking fan, that's your quarterback. So we see him in a neon billboard as we see Kirk Cousins. And then we look around at Josh Allen, and we look what Patrick Mahomes does and Justin Herbert does, and we look at Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers. We start judging your quarterback to all the other successes. I think as humans, our mind goes that way. So in a sense, I'm with you on that, Joel. Now, there are track records, and some people can argue and say, well, hey, what big games has he won? Who has he led to the promised land? The problem with that argument is that that's true, But your argument is that, well, I don't know if he's been used right. So if he's used right as you deem it, then let's see if he can go. Right? That's kind of what you're getting at.
Exactly
They've got the pieces in.
Yep.
They can put him in a better spot to succeed, even if he isn't a mobile guy, but protect him more or shift him later, and then throw those darts to Dalvin Cook or Justin Jefferson or Adam Thielen or utilize the tight end. Then we'll judge him on that. So it's a great argument because I think your crystal ball and other one's perception that he never will is probably the main thing here. But I'm kind of with you. I'd like to see Cousins work under a different regime or at least a different mindset offensively that allows him to move this team.
Right. There was a reason Kirk Cousins walked over to Zim, got up in his grill when Zim cut him loose under that 2 minutes, and they won the game.
Wouldn't it be great to be a fly in the wall in that relationship, and all that?
I don't think it was kumbaya.
I don't know. Same thing I'd like to be in like Perry Miller's Mexican hut during the wedding next week.
And watch whether or not Abby's behaving. And
I'll behave.
So what is the first beverage you have upon landing in Mexico?
Can I
lemonade?
I don't think I can have the water there, so sorry, can't play it safe. Probably like a daiquiri.
By the way, daiquiri. What's the exchange rate?
The exchange rate?
How many what's a dollar? How many pesos, dollar to pesos?
No idea. It's a pretty Americanized resort.
Yeah, like $1 worth like 4,500 pesos.
Something like that. I feel like
I've
that's
been
close.
there many times, and let me just say
you should
this.
know. You probably know.
It doesn't matter because what you're going to, I would guess, is an all-inclusive place, right?
We've already
so
paid for
the
everything.
all-inclusive places could care less what the exchange rate is because they know what you're willing to pay. And so when they tell you that it's all inclusive and by the way, you get Red Stripe beer. Right. It's like, I want a Red Stripe beer.
Could you look two things for me? And then I know this isn't why you called me in here. But I've already told you, look for a cheap parka for me. Because my guess is, Joel, in warm places, you're not going to spend as much for parkas.
Right. My guess is you're not going to find one.
Or maybe the off season of a cold place.
Or that. And a pair of shades. I know they're probably knockoffs, so give me a pair of Boakleys.
Let me just say one other thing so you don't waste your time looking for this jacket.
The parka.
Parka, whatever you want to call it. I've been there many times and I've yet to see too many 6'5" men on the beach.
Yeah, and I don't know that they would sell I'm not going to leave the resort, so.
Well, that's a bummer.
Oh, believe me, there are more things American to buy at resorts than there are when you go off resort. So
that's a bummer.
I'm gonna be so excited when she comes back with this huge Eskimo parka.
Here,
deal,
I had to
warm.
get another checked bag
bring
for
me,
your parka.
Right.
Bring
I'll
me
pay
back
you.
a couple cigars. That's all I want. All right, let's get to the weather cave and find. Thanks, Jack.
You bet.
Appreciate it. Let's get to the weather cave and find Too Tall Tom.
Gusty winds, some blowing snow here and there. Weather advisories are northwest Minnesota and also parts of.
Thanks for watching News and Views on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and like our page. And send us a text anytime at 35270.
Hey, this is Abby Miller with the
Derek
Mighty
Hansen,
790.
Couch Potato Radio. Did you see that
from It Takes Two.
Doug Miller with the morning crew this morning.
News Radio.
Amy Eiler with It Takes Two.
This is Jack Michaels, Voices Force.
Too Tall Tom.
Joel Heitkamp here on the Mighty
Sarah Heinrich.
Tyler Access, your home.
The Mighty 790 and 104.7 FM KFGO. The names you know, the voices you trust.
Well, we're doing a food giveaway event to the community. A lot of people are facing food insecurity at this time. As we can tell, we had to start about an hour early because we just had so many people lined up. So as people come up and they need whatever they need, volunteers are taking care of it. It's all contactless, so nobody has to get out. And just making sure whatever the greatest need. We're just getting the greatest good. When we're going until the food is out. As people are coming in, if they need 2 boxes and 2 gallons of milk, that's what we're giving. We don't want to leave anybody out.
I was in the hospital, and I saw a flyer on the wall. And all the nurses were talking about taking people down there to get food and stuff. I got out last night. the hospital last night. And I said, man, I'm going to do this. When I came from Williston here, I lived on these streets for 3 years, caring. And that's what this is. That's the way I see it. Very helpful. I think it's going to be very helpful because I know people that are doing without.
I think it's truly remarkable how much need there is out there. Like I said, we were going to start at noon, but we had so many people lined up. We started at 11, and volunteers have been working their tail off since then. I'm thankful for that. I think this shows that there is some huge needs in the community, and we got some things we got to.
So today on MSUM campus, we're doing an ice jam, which is we're combining a bunch of percussion instruments with ice instruments, which are also going to be used in a percussive form. We're going to hit them with mallets, hammers, all those types of things. Today is all improv, so we're all just kind of working with ideas that we just kind of think of as we go, and we kind of play off each other, and it's fun to collaborate but also have a sense of
studio line, but it won't do you any good. I apologize that we didn't get to these sooner. Dennis, you're on News and Views. Go ahead, Dennis.
Yeah. Well, you wanted a grade. I'm going to give them a D-. let's start with the positive. He delisted the gray wolf. I don't know why he did it, but I'm very grateful.
Okay.
On the negative side of the coin, I'm much more concerned about the invasion of our southern border than I am worried about the Ukrainian potential invasion.
Okay.
I don't understand why we can just ignore the loss.
Here's my two positives, Dennis, as I was driving up this morning. I've said this into this microphone for 17 years now. Infrastructure, and infrastructure. So I give them a positive there. We're out of Afghanistan. If people can say it's ugly, they can say whatever they want, but he actually did it. So there are other things I would give him an F on. Okay, so there's no way I'm giving him a high grade as well. The gray wolf, I got to tell you,
would you give him?
I would give him a C- right now. I would. I'd give him a C-.
What about the southern border? Well, what about the southern border?
The southern border to me has been a problem for a long, long time, and I think that when it comes to the southern border, it needs to be a two-party approach, because one of the biggest things that we don't deal with very well is workers in this country right now. And you can be in this country and work without being a citizen of this country. And I don't know why we're not having more conversations about that. So that's
Can you vote without being a citizen?
Well, you're not supposed to, right?
Yeah, but does it happen?
Well, there's all kinds of people that happen that are convicted felons that vote, that aren't supposed to be allowed to vote at certain times too. So, Dennis.
Well, it feels like that's the reason they're coming in, is so they can vote. But I could be wrong.
It feels to me, Dennis, like they're coming in because their life sucks and they want to be here for a better one. That's what it feels like. But I know a lot of people feel the way you do. Call again. I'd like to have a longer conversation about it. The gray wolf never even crossed my mind on this. But taking it off the list, I am not going to find myself in one bit in disagreement with Dennis about that. I'm not. All you wolf lovers out there, put me down as somebody who thinks there's enough of them in the world. Cares for Cancer, right?
Cares for Kids, yes.
We're going to be dealing with the folks with Sanford who are just making a difference. It's just fabulous. It'll be good, and you'll want to help out. But there's just some tough stories. But
0.7 FM KFGO. The names you know, the voices you trust. Thanks for watching News and Views on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and like our page, and send us a text anytime at 35270.
Well, we're doing a food giveaway event to the community. A lot of people are facing food insecurity at this time. As we can tell, we had to start about an hour early because we just had so many